After months of maneuvers and feints, major clashes between the Otomo and Takeda armies had finally been played out. The result was the death of 2 coalition leaders and thousands of troops, and while the Otomo gained no territory, they evened the odds with their opponent. The coalition gambit to land troops behind Otomo lines had stalled after the sudden appearance of Otomo Sugatsura contained the Kakizaki forces, and now the only remaining option was to try and seize the capital and have the emperor disband the shogunate. The stars. The stars still gleam. The last dawn has not come. The spirits live within us. The spirits still have hope, still see the enemy for what they are. Monsters. Monsters that can be slain. We thought that if we could be like them, we could beat them. Firearms, pikes, women warriors. These things, they disgrace us. How could that ever work? We are to kill monsters, not become them. We are to kill not just those who have betrayed their ancestors, but the great beast from the far horizons, the Nanban magic that soils all it touches. Have you forgotten the importance of our mission? Why should I sit here and listen to talk of peace, talk of compromise, talk of siding with the villains who are bringing the death of Japan? There is no option but war, and in that war, we cannot find the weakness to their magic soon enough. But the weakness of the Otomo is clear. Great armies with ruthless commanders, they are but a fraction of what the Otomo is. Forget them. We must destroy their legitimacy. We must destroy their Nanban allies. We must destroy their god. That is the battlefield we stand on. And if the spirits of the land must die, then we die with them. Hello there, welcome to more Barbarian Masters, where the Takeda have changed their strategy by the looks of things. This time they just moved right past our front line and took one of our regions. Very nice. Now they're in a position to take more territory if they want to, and they've actually cut off our food supply very slightly. We're now suffering a small famine, so we'll need to build more farms or destroy something to try and sort that out if we can't resolve the situation immediately. Before I took a deeper look at that, I wanted to resolve this, which we started in the last part, the containing of the naval invasion force, which is still just sitting in the first castle it took. It surprisingly didn't move anywhere else, which makes our life pretty easy. Not going to focus on this battle at all, since all I did was the usual. I've got tons of archers, they're stuck in the castle, so we just shoot them all and we can defeat their army for virtually no losses. The most remarkable thing that happened here was the discovery of this guy. He is a contender for an action movie star or something, because he has specced into luck. My archers just could not find the shot, as you can see, and he coolly just stands there, knowing that the spirits are on his side and he couldn't possibly be killed. The only problem with this strategy is that we do have quite a lot of arrows, so statistically this will work eventually, and finally we hit him with a whole load at once. There we go. So I think we did wipe out the entire enemy force without even having to go inside the castle. That's always very nice. And there we go. They're down. We'll take the castle back. This actually slightly improved our food supply, but it still doesn't quite resolve things here, so we'll have to keep working on destroying stuff, etc. But more importantly, the enemy naval invasion has now been crushed, and overall it was actually pretty disappointing how little damage they managed to do with that attack. They were very unaggressive. Now we're just going to push a bit more against the Saika. They only have 3 regions left and pretty much nothing when it comes to armies, so we can just destroy them with what we have in the area. We've got Kurokawa guarding the approaches to this area from the east, while Kobyukawa and Daihoji just move on to destroy everything here, and we don't really need all of these armies either. I'm going to eventually have just one stack advancing in this area. I couldn't attack their castle right now, but what we can do is have Kobayakawa just himself start a siege of the castle. Now the enemy might be tempted to sally, and if they do, he'll be reinforced by everything that's standing behind him. So yes, not much left from the Psyker. I think we have them at the moment. Now to finally take a look at the Takeda situation. The first and most obvious option is we'll just attack them with everything we have nearby and see what we get. We get a 3-on-3, a pretty hefty battle with the balance bar in the enemy's favour. This is a fight that certainly could be winnable, but we don't want to fight in such a way that we might actually take significant losses. So I'm going to be super cautious here and actually not engage them, even though that will give the enemy free rein to potentially attack us elsewhere, and we'll just see what happens. We're going to risk it. I don't really mind if they go for the capital, because I think we would have a decent chance of defending there. And it would be nice to try and get the enemy armies to split up, so even if they do go and attack in all sorts of places, that will make them easier to defeat in theory. So we'll just see what happens. And what happens, for this end turn at least, is nothing. They didn't move any of those armies, so the AI is really not taking the opportunities I'm giving it here. Very mean of it. The Kitapatake sent a small force to attack Kurokawa, and nothing really going to happen there. He was in this castle with only a couple of units, but it's a really high level castle, so he gets a gigantic garrison, pretty much a full army, and the enemy were defeated and pushed back. The Psyker do indeed sally against Kobayakawa, so we just destroy their small army with all our reinforcements, and we even take the important settlement of Ki. So just 2 regions left for the Psyker. They're pretty much going down now, but I think we'd probably be better off sending Kobayakawa back to deal with the emerging situation to the northeast. They were almost out of food too. This is pointless. Pursue the Iki if you must. I will get to Yoshishige and advise him. Lord Yoshishige, I'm sure you meant to say. And I will not be the first to point out that your orders come from him, as it stands. You are bound to help me, my lord. I don't work for Yoshishige, I serve Lord Yoshiaki. He entrusted me to keep his clan safe. That means his children, his troops, and his people. These Iki are no threat. Starvation is the threat. I need to go. Were you going to say Yoshishige is the threat, my lord? There's nothing you can do to stop me, General. I'm leaving, and I order you to finish the job quietly. You'll get filthy rich out there on the coast where no one's paying any attention. Isn't that enough for you? I only want the laws of the clan to be upheld, my lord. Your favorite laws only. That's why Yoshishige likes you, clearly. I don't believe such a conspiratorial attitude befits you, my lord. I don't believe your opinion is relevant, General, if calling you that is truly right. I'll be gone by morning. So close to the end, and every decent man has gone to join Lord Uno, it seems. They sense that this will end badly. Not if I can help it. Another Takeda turn comes around. Will they move out this time? For the most part, they're just moving fleets. They've got small fleets all over the place looking around Kyushu, probably hoping to find a trade node to attack, but no movement from their armies, and now their time is up. We're going to have to counterattack because now I've actually prepared a way to do it relatively easily. First, some drafted Ashigaru from the capital go to besiege the castle. That means that third army won't be able to take part in a battle if I just attack them right now, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Now it will be 3-on-2 here, 3 and a bit even, because we have some reinforcements from our castle. The balance bar's still only even. I'm not quite sure why. It seems like we have a pretty good army. Apparently they do too. Maybe all of their upgraded troops count for something. But they don't have any generals in their army, so they'll have low morale. There's a special unit in there, some hand mortars. We'll see them in action in a second. So since we have our Nanban weapons, even though we're attacking the enemy, we're going to play this as a defensive battle. The best advantage these weapons can really give us. We'll kill a few of them on the way in, of course, but the fact we only have to face half the enemy army at a time makes life significantly easier. So we just sit back, and soon the first of their units arrive. They start with some cav who they send to attack our right, which has just been set up by Terada coming in as our reinforcements. I counterattack with my own cav there to stop one unit, and the other unit's going to be hit by these Jumonji Yari Ronin, I think it was. Both fights will be super advantageous for us, so we can expect those cav to go down quite quickly. Now the first of the enemy's infantry are starting to come in, and they'll find we've got plenty of guns and archers ready to hit them. This unit of Katana Ashigaru is immediately annihilated by such fire. They turn back. The unit next to them will now be the leading unit and will be subject to that fire, and they also are annihilated and turn back, so thinning the enemy out very effectively. With so much Ashigaru and with no general, it's going to be easy to rout enemy units, and that's going to really help us, since if we rout these leading units, we'll be able to set up to face the rest of their army afterwards. Some more cav come to attack on our left flank, but again we've got some anti-cav units ready to receive them. Nothing's going to come of that. And finally a few units will start engaging in our centre. They do have lots of professional Yari Ashigaru, long Yari Ashigaru, but they're not using them in Yari wall formation, so they're not going to be especially effective. I'm using my cav on the left to just kite some enemies away to relieve the pressure even more. We're really fighting only about 3 or 4 enemy units with 40 on our side, so obviously we're just demolishing them and sending them right back where they came from. A couple of explosions there, representing the hand mortars joining the fight. They're all the way back here. Hand mortars are effectively the upgraded version of firebomb throwers. They just have a really long range, and I think they also shoot faster as well. They're a pretty decent unit for an attacking army, because while I'm sitting on the hill they could just rain shots on us. In this case they didn't seem to be especially effective. They kept shooting points that weren't quite where my men were standing, like here, a huge volley lands just in front of my troops. Not quite sure why, maybe they just have low accuracy as a unit, but all the shots seem to land groups together just in the wrong place. Not sure how that works. We'll be able to send some cav to take them out pretty shortly, so they won't be a problem for long. And in the centre, the enemy's reinforcement units who are just arriving are finding the fight hasn't gone very well, and they're going to see a similar fate to the units that came before them. They're trying an attack on our left, but I've got a Yari wall holding off one unit there, and with Yoshishige now in stand and fight formation, the buff to our attack skill makes a Yari wall pretty much undefeatable from the front. There go those hand mortars, and our cav will now just sit at the back of the map, kiting more enemy units backwards to make this fight at the front even easier. They've got some guns and bows here who are doing some damage, but I've got 3 parts of the line that can now charge forwards to just engage them. These guys moving in slow motion for a second, but then they realise that actually running faster than normal is the way to get through this. We get a tiny taste of what it's like to fight the Otomo, charging headlong into guns, but their guns are not very effective. They rout as soon as we touch them, and at the same time the rest of the enemy army is chain routing, even all the stuff that was just at the back of the map not engaged at all. I think it's just having no general makes it easier to get army loss routes across the entire enemy force, and now that they're routing we're just going to slaughter them. Since so much of their army was reinforcement units, we do need to kill them here to get the result on the campaign map. Soon enough, we've done all that we can do. That's a decisive victory, a surprisingly short and surprisingly easy victory. I think we probably could have taken the army inside the castle as well in that battle. The enemy losing over 3,000, we lost something over 400, a very nice trade, and of course we're now in a position to take down the rest of their forces in the area. We still have some movement points to spend. We may be able to take Zeze back, and that will also help us out with the food situation. I will need to leave something behind because the Imagawa are coming in from the east, and there are more Takeda armies to the east that could attack, but overall I think the situation is going to be resolved now. All the men have seen it now. The proof that Sugatsura's wins were nothing to do with him, and everything to do with God's gifts, these works of his magic. There can be no doubt, my lord. In fact, I dare say you've achieved even more with them than he did, a testament to your abilities. Well, thank you, General. You have done well yourself to keep up. My ultimate strategy to lure the Takeda in and destroy them will now be successful. I always knew this was all according to your plan, my lord. There will be those who say otherwise, those who did not see it for themselves. I trust you will let them know the truth, should you need to. Of course, my lord. and it is easy to imagine that my word would bear even more weight were I to have a greater stake in the issues, perhaps a few more fiefs in the lands we have recaptured. I believe the church has claim to most of them. However, as head of the church, I should be able to make arrangements. You are right. Your word will be enhanced by such honors. Thank you most graciously, my lord. I am blessed with such a wise lord to serve, both in heaven and on earth. I spotted a Chosokabe fleet at it again, trying to land troops in Kyushu, no doubt. I attacked them further north and they ran down here, and then luckily I was able to find them with a few other ships, so we can go into engage right now. They only have 3 trade ships, so no problem to just attack them with a few actual ships and kill them. Annoyingly, they actually ran away again. Ships seem to have special rules about when they can run away, and they are allowed to run away after having already run away in the same turn, it seems. If one run is from retreating from a battle initiation and the other is retreating from a battle loss. Annoying, so we'll have to keep an eye out there because that fleet may actually come back. The Imagawa do come and attack on our front line, as I thought they might. They've been walking towards us for a while, and the balance bar was being mean to me here. I thought we have a gigantic advantage and the defender's advantage in a castle. Surely this is nothing. The balance bar says otherwise, so I ended up having to fight it. Of course, all we need to do is throw a few ranged units onto the edge of the castle and start shooting. The enemy lacking any serious heavy infantry type units, so they're not really likely to get inside the castle or make much progress if they do get inside, since we have a full stack defending. And in some places, like here in the north, they're climbing up the larger face of the castle, and they're going to lose a significant portion of their units just from the climb, let alone the fact we're shooting them. There was a bit of a mishap out here. Yoshichige is coming in as reinforcements, and I ordered him to just move to some arbitrary place near the castle, not realizing that actually the enemy general was hiding out in the place I'd ordered them to go, so now Yoshichige suddenly gets attacked and has to turn back to rejoin his troops. Something similar happened over here, where I had some cavalry attacking the back of some Katana Ashigaru just to wipe them out, and the enemy actually turned a whole load of units around to come and face this attack, which was kind of good because it did take pressure off the castle and meant they really weren't making much effort to get inside, but I did have to withdraw my cavalry just to make sure that melee didn't go sour. As you can see here, the enemy's attack on the castle is pretty much failing. They've lost a whole load of units already. The other guys climbing up are doomed. Now I got Yoshichige out of the situation with the enemy general and ordered him to just go into the castle, but again he ends up ploughing into some enemy archers here, so I'm going to force move him through them to get to safety if we can. The only issue here is that not only are we being pursued by the enemy, but our own gunners who are firing at those pursuing enemies are also kind of hitting Yoshishige's unit. As you can see, I think we did take a few losses to friendly fire there. Fortunately, Yoshishige was right at the front and was already inside the castle by that point, so he was safe. As for his army, which was just this big mess following behind, trying to catch up with him, it was also attacked en route, and that's not going to be the best thing because we are out of formation, we are getting flank attacked, but we have so much stuff there the enemy can't actually defeat us. As for the cav, we kited tons of the enemy's units just way away from the battle, and since so much stuff died fighting over at the castle, those units ended up just routing. Then we could turn the cav right around and attack them and solve that situation quite handily. A decisive victory, nice and easy, as expected. I think the balance bar was being rather mean in that situation. The enemy army is totally wiped out, and the losses we took will essentially be 0 because we'll get our replenishment this turn and probably just get everything back. Now the Saika send a small force towards Ki, not realizing that I had most of my forces in the area actually standing just outside the castle in a hidden position, so we end up semi-accidentally ambushing them. That's the end of them, and really the Saika just have nothing left. They've got a couple of units and a couple of regions, but nothing they can do to stop our far superior force from bringing them down. We'll want to counterattack soon. Some annoying sabotage here. I'm back to 0 food, so we've avoided famine for now, but now the enemy are sabotaging food-producing buildings, so we're still on the edge. I'm going to have to spend half my money to repair that this turn, and just hope they don't keep doing that. And there's Daihoji making the attack against the Psyker. No problems here to kill the last of their units, and yet another Psyker daimyo. The only actual issue we have for expanding against the Psyker is public order. I have to keep splitting my army every time I move out, but since we have so many troops and the enemy don't have much in their last garrison, we should be able to take everything down with just these troops, without any big delay to wait for people to become Christian or anything. Now Uno, while patrolling around at the end of the Noto Peninsula, finds another naval invasion on the way. This time it's the Honma. I think this is probably their second or third attempt at doing this. I attack them and they sail away. At least they sailed away in the opposite direction, not actually going towards their target, so that's good. And in this case, I thought we may actually be able to still attack them, because the black ship has greater movement range than the rest of the fleet. So went to take a little look, unfortunately didn't see the Honma fleet and decided to just go back. We'll just have to keep in mind that there is yet another possible naval invasion somewhere for us to look for. Now on the front line, Kobayakawa has arrived after an uneventful end turn sequence. So now we have 4 stacks in the area, we have the numbers to match the enemy forces on the front line, and our units are probably better, so an attack is certainly possible, although still not completely trivial.
My lord, I must protest. This plan is too rash. The men are not rested and have already seen much fighting. To attack before the snows have melted is one disadvantage too many.
No, it is not. The snows will prevent the enemy from gathering their forces in time for battle.
Lord, we are the ones who are attacking without trade roads to move down. It is more likely that it is we who will be unable to muster, not they.
Oh, and you know these men and these lands that well, do you?
It is merely the principle, my lord. I believe your plan is too dangerous.
You've tasted nothing of my victories, and so you seek to deny me more. Is that it? Or you're in league with Sugatsura?
No, my lord. It's just that I could not guarantee your safety if we march before spring, and that is something Lord Yoshiaki would never accept.
You are rather unmanned by the prospect of attacking, and I had heard you were a fighter of vast experience. I feel like there must be some wisdom within you.
Thank you, my lord. I will happily fight for you once the men are ready. We just need to remain steady for now.
Yes, yes. But if I find that this is any sort of trick, I'll have your head. Things remain stable then until spring breaks, and the first attack we're actually going to make is with Kurokawa. I need to set a siege at the Kitaputake settlement so that they'll stop building an army. They've been gradually rebuilding after we defeated them a whole bunch of turns back. Nearby, Daihoji is finishing off the Psyker. That's their final settlement captured, and that really shortens our front line now. Once these troops get back to that front line, I think we'll be in a much stronger position than we've been in recently, and even the position we've been in recently hasn't been too bad. We've certainly been doing well, so I think this is going to turn the tide and give us the momentum we need to hammer this whole thing home. Yoshishige is going to start off over here by besieging this Takeda castle. There are loads of enemy armies in reinforcement range, just as they were in winter, but what I'm going to try this time is setting all of my forces up in hidden positions just behind him. What may happen there is the Takeda garrison will sally, and sallies tend to calculate the reinforcements a bit differently, and it will probably be a smaller battle, and all of my hidden forces will join the fight to make it quite easy. That didn't actually happen for this first turn at least, but the Kitaputake did sally against Kurokawa, and that's going to be an easy battle. We have a small advantage to start off with, and then we got this great terrain. We've got cliffs forming choke points and a forest to hide our units, so we can set up a very strong defensive position here and then just wait for the enemy to attack it. So here we are a bit later. The enemy have to come uphill, which is going to ruin their charge, especially bad for units like these no Daichi samurai, and they're going to find Long Yari Ashigaru in Yari Wall formation waiting for them. That's going to be very, very difficult for them to get through. Over here they're making another attack, but it's really the same situation. These Katana samurai just have a rubbish charge, and now they're stuck fighting with our pike wall. The weakness of this formation is archers, and the enemy do have archers sniping away at us, but not very many, so I'm willing to just hold on and damage the infantry as much as possible. They did stop my own archers from firing, which was my main counter to their archers, but their cav there eventually pulled back and we were fine. And as for the infantry fight, we can expect a victory. Their Ashigaru will have no chance of pushing through the Yari wall. They did though have firebomb throwers, and this is the thing that can really break apart a fight wall. Their first volley though went over the top of it and hit the Yari samurai standing behind, killing loads of them, but at least it didn't break up the Yari wall. So this is a problem. I targeted my archers onto these guys, but they're kind of standing in the trees, so a lot of my shots going towards them will be blocked and we couldn't damage them very quickly. And they are going to get off another volley on us here, unfortunately. This time they are going to target the units closer to the front, and it's just a bit of a mess. Hard to say which side is actually taking more damage from this attack. The shots are landing pretty evenly on both sides of that melee, so massive casualties, but it will make the fight end quicker. We're not going to lose it overall, hopefully. And my light cav took out the enemy's general at the back at this stage, so that's going to make things extra easy. And as you can see here, we had tons of units that weren't engaged. Since we're fighting in choke points, we don't really need much stuff to lock the enemy army down, so they started doing flank attacks. We won in the choke points as the enemy started falling back, and some more spearmen took out another enemy general who was trying to go around on our right side. All things considered, a very easy battle, and the Kitabatake were completely wiped out, meaning we actually take their castle right away during the end turn sequence. So that's nice. However, there'll be no peace for Kurokawa because their neighbours, the Seki, who were actually their vassal, I believe, come over with one of their two armies to attack the castle right now. They've just got loads of Ashigaru, mostly drafted Ashigaru, so it's not a very good force. I think we're almost certainly going to win in the balance bars being mean again, because our force is the same size but better, and we're in the castle. I'm going to be skipping over most of this battle for reasons that will become clear in a minute. What I effectively did is just send my light cavalry out near the start to kill the enemy general once the enemy's infantry had committed to attacking. Their infantry were taking huge losses both from my arrow fire and from the fact they had a long climb to get into the castle here, and men just dropping off the edge caused quite significant casualties for them. As you can see, our defenders are looking pretty casual. There's not really any chance for the enemy to get in here. We killed their general at just the right moment. We got him as the enemy's reinforcements arrived to join that fight. So now my cav can escape and the enemy will be demoralized. They were already on low morale from the effort of trying to get in, but with this new news of the general's death, many of them started to flee. We're going to rack up loads of kills as they go, and we even saw the enemy's heavy samurai, their katana samurai, retreating at this point as well, with a pretty healthy unit too, so that's a sign that enemy morale is truly destroyed. They've got a whole load of units still outside the castle who are kited onto my cav and followed them around for actually quite a long time before I persuaded them to finally try and get into the castle so that we could kill them. A little bit annoying, but eventually we got that decisive victory with most of my army actually taking no part in the fighting whatsoever. So there's the result. All looks fine, and the reason I pretty much skipped over that is because immediately afterwards we saw the same battle but harder. They brought over their second army now, this time with a load of generals to help out, so maybe these guys think they can do better, and the survivors from the last fight are joining in. So we are facing the exact same fight, and maybe this one will be a bit more interesting and I'll put a tiny bit more time into it. The coalition was falling apart. Their invasion of Kinai was crushed, and in reply, an even larger army led by Otomo Yoshishige began its march east, seeking a conclusive campaign. The frantic defense of the Ki Peninsula by the Jodo Iki sect, led by the Saika family, had been systematically neutralized. All traces of non-Christian faith were burned and buried, even in the most remote mountain communities, funded by the increasingly wealthy Japanese Christian Church. Christianity took hold quickly, but whether the people converted out of fear or faith is unclear, for really, they had no choice. That's all for now. Thank you very much for watching, and special thanks to the Officially Devin patrons for making this happen. While Kurokawa continues to be bullied by these smaller factions, Kobayakawa is going to come up with a plan to break open the coalition's front line in the next episode of Barbarian Masters.